Good evening, everybody, for another episode of Rise Up After Dark. Sadly, we are without Evan. It's going to be myself, Alex. I think we're going to have Nill from Polygon join as well. But we do not have Evan to steer us and navigate us through the waters and the tempests of the crypto space this evening, which is sad. But we'll get Alex in here in a minute. I'm going to send him a message. Just let him know I am online. And yeah, guys, hope you guys are having a good night. Let me just close this a tiny bit. The first comment, the Trump and dump. All right, here we go. We're going to get Alex on. And guys, if you are new to Rise Up After Dark, I bet most of you aren't. This is where we either have a guest on, we chat about stuff that they're working on, their personal story in crypto, or we do altcoin reviews. And I have the whiteboard behind me, and it's been a while since we started doing altcoin reviews. What up, dude? How's the day been?
I'm happy it's mostly over. Ready for this.
That's good. And Lisa, we do have a Discord. If you want to be, it's free to join, by the way. You can tag us with questions. There's a bunch of free resources, other resources you can pay for, courses that we've done, all that kind of stuff. The link is on my bio. If it doesn't work for you, or it's on Alex's bio, you can also go to the riseupmorningshow.com. The link to join is there as well. If the link doesn't work for you on my profile page, send me a DM. I'm about 200 DMs behind, but over the next 2 days, I will be taking time going through all of them. So I will get to it, and I will send you a link. But everybody, and also, yeah, if you're new, I saw someone say that too. Welcome in. What up, guys? Nice, the whiteboard. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Magic, it's been a while.
It's time. Time to bring it back.
So I told Alex this in the Discord. But I was like, hey, man, how about we ask ChatGPT to give us some altcoins to analyze? And so I went on a fun little journey because I knew that when I first asked ChatGPT, I was like, it's going to give me the stand. It's going to say, like, do XRP and Ethereum. And while I know a lot of you would love for us to talk about XRP, we're not going to. So I go, hey, ChatGPT. What are some altcoins that I can review during a TikTok live with my audience who are both new to crypto and also veteran crypto investors? I want them to be interested in these cryptos. And so it goes through and it says Solana, Polygon, Avalanche, Chainlink, Render, Arbitrum, Optimism, Sui, Aptos. Injective, that's an interesting one. Frax, Share, one that's new to me. Caspa, we haven't talked about in a long time. Celestia, right? But these are all pretty big coins. You know, we've all talked about them for the most part. And so I go, hey, ChatGPT, can you make it more degen? And it goes, oh, say less. Let's crank up the degen dial. You want that alpha packed moon mission, slightly unhinged vibe that'll make the veterans perk up and the newbies feel like they're getting in on the secrets. Here's your degen-friendly TikTok live altcoin lineup, full of spicy narratives, real use cases, and hype juice. For DeFi, it gave us...
I hated every word in that sentence. I hated it.
Oh, just wait, it gets so much better. It gave us Injective, Render, Caspa again, Celestia again. For Layer 2s, it gave us Arbitrum, Optimism, Sui, and Aptos again. For Tier 3, getting a little bit more interesting, Jupiter, Piff, Turbo, Memecoin, first one that came up. And it gave us a few bonuses like Fetch, Nim. And then I go, hey, ChatGPT, how about even more degen? It goes, hey, you want that maximum degen? Let's fully send it. Rocket ship emoji, skull emoji. We're talking the under the radar, low cap, high reward, high rug pull risk gems. High rug pull risk gems with insane upside. Perfect for hyping up your TikTok live and making the chat go wild with Wen 100x. Wen spelled W-E-N. And it goes, Boom, Jeet, Pepe, Tinser, Ordi, Wen, Menki, Bonk, Harambe, Normie, just a bunch of memes. And I go, okay, ChatGPT, pull it back for a second. Keep it degen, but give me utility tokens. And this is the last one. He goes, yes, sir, with laughing. Now we're talking degen with purpose. Utility tokens that do stuff, but still got that spice. Small cap, early entry upside energy. Think of it as functional degen. Useful projects with tokens that can actually pump. not just because of memes, but because they're building real shit under the radar. It actually, ChatGPT swore. And it gave us Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi map, which I don't know that at all. Demo, which is IoT data for your car. GeodeNet. That one's new, but it's a decentralized GPS satellite network. It gave us a cache network. That's basically a render copycat. It gave us Peak Network, which is infrastructure for the machine economy. It gave us MXC Foundation, which is another IoT solution. Nodal Network, a Bluetooth-based crowdsourced IoT network. Veracity, LTO Network, Pocket Network, decentralized infrastructure for APIs, and then a few other things. And that's where I ended it.
That was awful.
Yeah. And I thought it was beautiful.
That was absolutely what I would expect, like a fresh thread to come up with if you told it to be a degen, and it was the most cringe, cliched, stereotypical, whatever I could imagine.
It was beautiful.
There's like, I don't know. Those are interesting choices. It's more than I expected it to come up with, but I don't know. Somehow they're all like safe, boring choices.
Yeah, except for I was curious about like the degen utility tokens, because a lot of these are going to be new to me. Like, I don't know. Do you know Wi-Fi map?
No.
Oh yeah, crowdsourced global Wi-Fi network. I mean, that could be interesting. I think we've done demo before.
We have.
Geode could possibly be interesting, decentralized GPS. And let me write some of these down.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of these just to kind of...
Here, I'll send some of these over to you in the Discord as well.
Well, Wi-Fi map is down a crisp 98.2% from its all-time high.
Well, we did ask for degen. This is ripe with opportunity.
The market cap of this thing is 5 million.
Yeah, dude, it's in the category of useful projects with tokens that can actually pump, not just because of memes, but because they're building real shit under the radar.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be it. It's got to be under the radar. It's down 90% this year.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it can still go down 90%.
It can still go down another 90%.
Still go down 90%. So were there any tokens there that piqued your interest? People who were listening to that whole list, was there any coins that caught your interest? I'm gonna write down. I sent you the list in Discord, Alex.
Okay.
So I'd say you pick two, I'll pick two.
Okay.
Have we done Pinlink before?
Yeah, we have, and I kind of avoid it because it is extremely over-influence hyped, and it got pumped into the stratosphere, and for no reason, just because a bunch of KOLs pumped it. And it was kind of a neat project. Like, it was not necessarily a bad project at all, but they went full-bore KOL marketing strategy, and it just went exactly the way that you would expect it to go. And now I just can't, like, in good faith, even talk about it because it just... It's one of those things. You hire a bunch of KOLs and you just kind of shoot yourself in the foot. I think you lose your credibility, to be honest.
Yeah. Here are two bigger coins that I think would be interesting to start with. The ones that stuck out to me, it was Injective and Stacks.
Stacks, yeah. We've talked about both, but it's been a bit.
We've talked about both. It's been a bit. And Injective was the darling of 2023. And Stacks is also, it's just interesting because Stacks is building basically like an Ethereum layer 2, but on Bitcoin. It's trying to make Bitcoin more scalable to be able to build DeFi directly on the Bitcoin ecosystem, which was cool. Which was a cool idea when it first came out. But now that you can just kind of wrap Bitcoin on Solana, you can wrap Bitcoin on Ethereum, you can wrap Bitcoin directly on Base through Coinbase. I don't think it's entirely necessary, but like, it's interesting. So it'd be interesting to just do like a deep dive on it. Oh, what's up, Nill? How you doing, dude?
There he is.
Neil, do you want to hop on up and do some altcoin reviews with us?
He sure does.
I will send you the invite post haste. You wanna pull up Polygon and we'll just like shit on it with Nill here.
That's the one. That's the one that we can't do with Nill on here.
We can't. I know.
I was gonna say, and Nill and I were just talking about this a second ago. I don't want to derail altcoin research to talk about this because this is a topic for tomorrow morning. But did you see the base hoopla today?
No, what happened?
They there he is. What's up, dude?
Yo,
Hey, dude.
dude. I was about to say, this entire show is being put on chain for content and meme coin purposes only, and I promise that you guys will not take any of the flack when it rugs.
Oh, well, perfect. Well, don't worry. The altcoins that I pulled up are from ChatGPT, where several times I asked it, no ChatGPT, more DJ. And we are looking at coins currently in ChatGPT's that, in its words, are maximum degen that will fully send it rocket emoji skull face.
Yes, that's what we need in this space. More rocket emojis. Did you get the lowdown yet, Will, from Alex about what just occurred on the base ecosystem?
No, I think we were just about to get there.
So, Alex, please take it away.
So I didn't know until you told me that Jesse was as intertwined as he is, in the last 10 minutes, he's taken a real interesting approach to damage control on Twitter. So that's going to be interesting to see how tonight decides to unfold. We'll have a lot to talk about in the morning. But in a nutshell, he apparently encouraged and authorized the launch and like the promotion by base of a meme, which then rugged and dropped 95%. And the team posted it, and he is on Twitter, like in comments, saying, like, in response to the question, who told them to do this? Saying, me. And rough day at the office.
Yeah. It's so like they tweeted a picture that said like bases for everyone. Yeah, they tweeted bases for everyone and like a picture, and then 2 minutes later a meme coin appeared, and then they tweeted the link to the ticker of the meme coin directly. So like it wasn't like, oh, it's a meme coin now. It was like, here's the meme coin on the official base account, go buy it. And there was a space that was hosted. There was a lot of moving parts. And everyone that sees me on this app should know I never drag competitors, but all I do is I say cheers to that, and it feels good to be where I am today.
We don't have to drag competitors, but sometimes we can just point out when shit's awful.
No, he just pulls. Neil, I don't know if you know this, but Dave Portnoy is infamous for having champagne bottles with the names of his enemies on them, and he just pops them whenever like something terrible happens to him. And that's the type of pettiness that I aspire to.
Mm-hmm. I allow my CEO to do that level of pettiness. You know what I mean? I let the big dogs fight it out on that side, and I just be a little peon who tweets, well, maybe not everything belongs on chain. You know, that's the vibe. So Jesse's doubling down, saying content on chain, this on chain, every piece of media on chain. And so now I'm going to adjust my verbiage a little bit to maybe not everything belongs on chain. So yeah, I don't know. It's a wild west out here, as we know, ladies and gentlemen, but it's your own people sometimes.
It's a really unfortunate lack of understanding on behalf of somebody I would hope would be more informed like them, and a very disturbing lapse in judgment, because you know you can put things on chain without creating a liquidity pool to go along with the thing you just put on chain. So you know, Will, Nill, I would level that up to say that certainly not everything needs a liquidity pool, because good Lord.
Yeah, it's yes. Evan is asking in the chat, is this Jesse we are talking about? And that is confirmed. It is Jesse that we are talking about.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fun time out here. So we're gonna keep doing us, and everyone else can do them. It's the first time in many years that I was happy not to be Solana about 4 weeks ago with the weird commercial, and Base tonight. So first time I've ever said it, honestly. So it feels pretty good.
Was that commercial only 4 weeks ago? It feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like it feels like it was 4 weeks ago. or at least I think it was 4 weeks ago, but that does feel like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
But every week we all age 20 years in this industry, so
My hairline is the evidence of that.
My hair's starting to go back also. I'm on the hymns now, everybody.
Oh,
I'll just take a vacation to Turkey and get a hair transplant because I need to keep this.
did you see?
it's like an 8-month recovery though, dog. It's crazy.
I sent this meme not that long ago that was a picture of Walton Goggins after the last season of White Lotus, and he has a receding hairline, and it was just this claim that he is bringing or making the receding hairline sexy again, and it was a retweet by Turkish Airlines just saying no.
Yes. Yeah. It's so
That's
good.
hilarious.
My girlfriend was disappointed, and after this we can dive into the altcoins. But my girlfriend, when she was flying to and back from Turkey for work, she was upset. I was like, "Did you see all the hair transplants in the airport?" She's like, "No, I just saw all the Eastern European 18-year-olds having their parents pay for their nose jobs." It was just like all these girls, all these young girls, just getting their noses just reshaped as their 18-year-old birthday present from their parents. I was like, that's awesome, also. But
That's wild.
Anyway,
do you want to start with injective or stacks first? We'll start with one of the big boys.
Let's start with stacks just because it's a little bit more unique and interesting. I think it was a longer one back that we had first touched on it, and I'm gonna refresh. I mean, I should say I'm very aware. So stacks is essentially a layer 2 solution for Bitcoin. It is interesting. It has been around for a long time. I went to a real interesting party.
I didn't even know it was around for that long. Yeah, I went on DeFi Llama. It has a TVL history going all the way back to December of 2021.
Yes. That's a long time.
A long time.
I was
especially for a Bitcoin layer 2. Jesus.
I was at one of their launch parties in Miami a number of years, or I think it was in early 2022, and it was a weird one. That was the one, Evan, if you're still here, where our accountant found a mannequin, stole one of its arms, and then rented a Vespa, and drove home waving an arm over his head. And it's a miracle he didn't get pulled over. But
I mean, it was Miami.
It was Miami at a stack show, but it was interesting. So essentially, all the things that you know about layer 2. So just in case you're not familiar with the term, layer 1, there's 3 main layers with these things. Layer 1 is your base ecosystem. This is the layer that handles infrastructure and security. Layer 2s are put on top of it. They rely on the security and the infrastructure of the underlying layer 1, and they enable speed and cost, speed to go up and cost to go down. That's the idea. They help the underlying base layer scale. There's a lot of common ones that you have probably heard of, including Polygon as a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum, which has then now snowballed, and it's sort of the thing to do. Everyone and their grandmother has launched a layer 2. There are all kinds. Some of them are very specific purpose driven. Some of them are more general purpose. And essentially, like I said, they're just meant to make everything harder, better, faster, stronger. There is a third layer, layer 3, which is supposed to be the dApp layer. So this would be like games, DeFi protocols.
I was like, either that was the squeakiest door I've ever heard of, or all 11 of your geriatric dogs all squeak your toy at the same time.
No, it was the I don't know what's going on in there, but it's pandemonium. So anyway, layer 3 is the dApp layer. It's not necessarily like another layer built on top of a layer 2, which could easily get confused when you just think about the terms layer 1, 2, and 3. It's really just meant to be the application. So if you had, a DeFi protocol, some kind of staking protocol, a game, and a wallet, those could all be considered participants on the layer 3 built on top of the layer 2. So Stacks is meant to make Bitcoin harder, better, faster, stronger. And it's just kind of interesting because typically we don't think of Bitcoin as needing or using things like that. And Stacks has been around for a long time. Will, do they have a reported TVL? Is it?
Oh, they do. And it's doing surprisingly well. I'll show the dollar valuation is not because Stacks is an altcoin. All altcoins have been hammered. So I'll show you the dollar valuation first, and then I'll show you its TVL in stacks. And even in USDs, it's not doing bad. So let me turn this around. So here you go. Here you have stacks. You can see it has 84, basically $85 million of TVL. That's a pretty small amount of TVL. But as you can see, and this is in dollars, you know, we got a high here of basically $200 million. And then we've really just leveled off and tapered off. However, this is pretty flat during a time where, you know, Bitcoin started falling right here. But if we switch this to the native stacks, look at that.
So, Will,
That's
what's the difference if we're looking at TVL and we're comparing the USD TVL and the native token TVL?
Well, the thing is in my personal opinion, if you're trying to measure if an ecosystem is growing or not, don't look at the US dollar valuation, because the US dollar valuation doesn't necessarily directly show you if the solution is getting adoption. It tells you what the fluctuation of all of the speculation is, right? Because altcoins, at the end of the day, they end up being more so tools of speculation than they are meant for their general purpose that they were created for. So if you want to see if a solution is actually being adopted in a meaningful way, switch it away from the US dollar to the native currency, because that tells you more people are bringing more and more tokens on chain into the ecosystem to use it, which should trigger a light bulb in your head as an investor that says, hey, there's something here that's valuable to enough people with enough money to make them go through the steps to take advantage of this. I should at least explore that and see what it is, to see if it's something that I should go explore. Or if you yourself aren't a person who's Web3 native, you're not on chain, you're not interacting with decentralized applications, you could at least see that and go, hey, Stacks is getting good fundamental adoption. I might want to have this on my list as something to invest in because it's getting adoption amongst its targeted audience. That's why you should look at TVL in the native currency as opposed to US dollars.
Sweet. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a little bit easier way too to kind of start to think about this more in terms of liquidity as well, because native token TVL can be more indicative of freer liquidity in the ecosystem as opposed to just dollars locked in a staking protocol somewhere or a dead smart contract. We've talked about that a little bit, that some of the money in like Ethereum's TVL, which is gargantuan, and actually there was a really interesting article that we talked about on the show a couple months ago about Solana, where at least a portion of that locked USD TVL, and actually native token TVL as well for that matter, is locked in dead contracts. And it's just tiny little pieces, but it really adds up over the course of how many dead meme coins were launched somewhere and have locked liquidity that no one can ever access again. So it's kind of interesting. It's one of those things. You can't just look at one metric for an ecosystem. You got to look at a whole bunch of them. Nill, I know I was actually curious about you because I've asked, I'm going to have you put your Polygon hat on just for a second for a technical question. I had an interesting conversation with the head of DeFi from Stellar, actually, just because we've noticed that, you know, their TVL is inaccurately reported on DeFi Llama. Yep. And she told me just about how, you know, it really depends on the protocol. They don't all respond to the queries. There's not APIs for everything. Some of these different chains that are built differently aren't queryable the same way, and DeFi Llama isn't set up to check everything everywhere. But of course, Polygon is one of those that's pretty well reported. Is that, do you know, just like from working with protocols and projects like within your guys' ecosystem, is that something that everyone does individually? Is it kind of like up to everyone, or do you know how that works?
Yeah, so like from that understanding, and James is just popping off with goats right now, so like man, all that stuff. I appreciate you, James. But the whole like cat, that's crazy work. But the whole thing for us is like we have a dedicated team for this, right? Like we have a dedicated like DeFi team that interacts with these like data collecting groups, right? You talk about like Dunes, right? Like we have a dedicated like DeFi team that interacts with these like data collecting groups, right? You talk about like Dunes is one of those emphasis points for investor relations. It's utilized for like commentary in the space in general on the timeline. Like everybody goes to Dune to see how your different apps, your dApps are interacting and where all the transactions are coming from, right? So we build relationships with these teams in order to ensure that they're correct in a lot of different ways, but also to ensure that there's validity in all these aspects of how they interact as in the greater ecosystem, right? Because it can bring like confusion if you're not doing that in the right way. So the teams that like are having these kind of problems, it's probably like cross-chain issues for a lot of different reasons, but it's also probably just like those relationships haven't been built up over time effectively. And it's, as we all know, it's kind of the way that this blockchain world works, because we are in this like early stage of the industry where the relationships are the biggest portion of this. And luckily we are been around for a while, right? So those relationships are easy for us to kind of support and have effective connections with. So yeah, obviously we do a lot of work on that side. Then it has to debate like which apps and which dApps are doing the best on that side overall and which get attention. So obviously like teams like Polymarket, teams like Courtyard, our breakout ones, those are the ones that really have like the most attraction to our teams. And it's like, hey, we need this reporting. And as a team, we do the work to make sure it gets reported correctly.
Gotcha.
Beautiful.
And hold on a second. How do I? Haha, here we go. And no, I'm curious. Just in the spirit of people researching altcoins, because Dune Analytics is a phenomenal source of information to get on-chain data to like read in like a way that a human can read. Right? It's presented nicely. What other tools would you recommend for people to use? Like you as someone who's been in the space for a while working on it, that gives like good, accurate, up-to-date information, even if it's something that's behind a paywall, even if it's something like paid Masari subscriptions or something like that, you know. But what are some of those things that you think could provide people maybe a little bit of an advantage as they research altcoins that they hear about on social media and the like?
Yeah, it's all about like what sector, like what vertical you're jumping into. So something that I'm taking head on is like, you know, in my role as like growth of our ecosystem is deepen. Right. And so deepen is one of those things that is like extremely hard to track, honestly, right? Because there's like different types of hardware, different chains that this hardware operates on, different like protocols for how it's all mined on that side. I think you guys are crazy out there. I appreciate y'all. But like the entire purpose, right, is to make sure there's analytical effectiveness for these things. So one group I'm working with directly is Deepin Ninja, right? Deepin Ninja is somebody that's like really reporting well overall. Deepin Scan, right? We have the IoTex team over on our side. So really unique way that we can like kind of track, okay, this is what Deepin looks like as a chain holistically, and this is what Deepin looks like as an app and and they all have different categories, right? Your cloud miners, your internet providers, your energy like sourcers, all those kind of things. It all kind of differentiate between all those things. So I've been like diving really deep into Deepin Scan recently, because again, our team IoTex, they're building a chain within our ecosystem, and those have different like applications inside of them, right? They have like, I think it's like 15 total different apps built inside of IoTex chain. So it's just kind of like a variable side of how things are visually looked. Obviously, Dune's the big one. Like Deepin Scan for me recently. I'm trying to think of what else off the top of my head. I used to be big into the NFT world, so I was looking always at like what is it? TXO, TEIXO was something I was watching because I was watching marketplace movements on the NFT side a lot. So those are some big ones that we're always watching, especially because we have a big imprint on the gaming side, gaming assets and where they transact, right? Are they on OpenSea? Are they on Magic Eden? Are they at some other platform that we don't know about? We have the Moor marketplace on Polygon, MOOAR. That's very prominent for like different gaming apps because it's gaming focused, right? So some of those different ones specifically are the ones that we're watching very closely, and it changes on a week-to-week basis. I feel like I'm learning about a new analytical platform that's coming out of nowhere and has a very specific focus, whether it's in your Deepin area, your DeFi area, or something in between. But definitely the big ones on that side are Dune, DeFi, Llama. I'm getting away from coin like trackers specifically, just because I think that there's more to talk about than just like the base level, your coin geckos, your coin market caps on those things, and diving in deeper to analytics overall.
What was the tool that you said that you use for Web3 gaming?
On Polygon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Moor. It's MOOAR. And the Moor marketplace is powered, and this is like a backstory of everything. Moor marketplace is powered by a team called Find Satoshi Labs. Find Satoshi Labs powers the STEPN ecosystem. So if you guys are familiar with STEPN, STEPN was a breakout dApp way back in the way that was tracking your physical activity, similar in the Web2 side to something like Strava, right? You go for a run, it collects your data, it does things, but in the STEPN universe, you get paid out in GMT token, right? Now, we brought STEPN over to Polygon. This was about 2 years ago, and now STEPN Go is one of our most active, like, physical, like, tracking devices, right? It's like deep and adjacent, I would call it, right? But overall, now the expansion of this is, right, the more marketplace has Gas Hero, the more marketplace has all these unique gaming assets, Matrix fire weapons, like all these really unique gaming assets that kind of interact uniquely. And now and they continue to grow very uniquely in a way too. So like the STEPN shoes are on there, Gas Hero is on there, and now they're expanding out. Anytime that you run and you collect tokens via STEPN Go, you get GMT token, and GMT Pay just opened up today too. So you can literally go for a run, collect GMT token, walk into a coffee shop, and open up your Apple Pay with your GMT like card connected to it, and pay for your coffee directly through all decentralized networks. Pretty insane, the accessibility that provides. And overall, it's just a very unique pathway forward that we're seeing. The Find Satoshi Labs team is just cracked. They do everything from like physical interactions to the gaming side, and now on payment processing. Like they are just one of our like weapons over on the Polygon side that we're super proud to have.
I don't know why I don't have an account for that, because like I've been running.
Yeah.
I should get paid.
You should get paid. It'd be crazy if, and again, it's all about the data, right? Like it's all about the data collection. And if you're doing this Strava is farming your data for a reason, right? Like they want to see how often people interact. They want to push that out to shoe companies. They want to push that out to other fitness applications, your Nikes and everything on that side. And then like, what do you get out of that? You get a snapshot of your monthly like results. Great, grand, wonderful. But in a world where we should be having this data be paid out for us, you should be getting a token allocation or some sort of reward system in that nature.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the projects I talked to recently. Met the founder of, and just talked about that. We're planning an episode to talk about this idea specifically. Just this, I don't think people really don't have any appreciation for how much data they generate every day and how much money is made off of it that you are completely excluded from. Like it sounds boring. I know to sit here and think about like data and data storage and all these different solutions, but like it's a gajillion-dollar industry. That's a technical term for how much money is made off of your data, and you are not allowed to participate in it. And that's kind of the whole point of the 3 in Web3.
Yeah, and I think like people don't realize, like I was sitting around, I think it was like 2 Fridays ago or something, and my friends were all talking about, and I say this conversation a lot, like all my homies talk about how much they hate their jobs. So I don't talk about my job because I love my job, right? Like I just like everyone bitches about their managers and their time and taking off. Like I can do whatever I want, and I'm pretty happy about my life, right? So like I'm encouraged to be here tonight. I'm encouraged to go on lives in the middle of the day because they know that's helpful for the ecosystem. So that's what it is. But we're sitting around and we're playing Catan on a Friday night because that's what you do when you turn 31 years old. You play Catan with your homies. You don't go out to the bar, right? That's what it is. So exactly, right? I don't want to go. So I'm sitting around and we're playing Catan, and my friends are like, you know, I walk in, I'm wearing my Polygon stuff because I fucking love it. You know, it's high quality stuff. It's my logo. I like showing it off. And my buddy goes, Nill, like, you know, I think I'm obsessed with my company swag. And then I see you and I figure I'm okay. And I'm like, well, my company is changing the world. And he goes like, dude, what do you mean? You're just like on crypto. And I literally look at him. I was like, bro, I'm forging the future of the internet. And somebody else is like, what do you mean, dude? And I'm like, what is the internet? And they're like, I don't know. It's like where you access. I'm like, no, it's data. Like, what is blockchain? It's data. What am I doing? I'm giving data back to the user and empowering them. And they're all like, oh, okay. So that's why you're obsessed with this shit. You think you're changing the world. And I'm like, yeah, I know I am. So just like this whole like different construct that we've been operating in, people need to learn that that's the whole purpose behind this shit. That's what it is.
And that's why days like today with Base are frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And the salon.
Yeah, those things.
So I want to pull the conversation back to stacks. Yeah, we were talking about stacks. I did try to see if they had a roadmap for 2025 because I was curious what they had planned. The 2025 is empty on their website. And I went, they have all the other years filled, and 2025 is just an empty line. And I went, huh. But if you go on Binance, their roadmap for stacks on January 4th is pretty generic. It's increase throughput and transaction speed, have interoperability and cross-chain interoperability with Ethereum and Polkadot. So specific to goals there. Interesting they choose Polkadot. And that's about it. That's about all they have for their roadmap.
That's
I'm turning on the light for 1 second because it's getting dark out here. So give me 20 seconds.
That's one of those things too with like, why would someone pick Polkadot for XYZ? We were just talking about it this morning being just a weird ecosystem. The other one that is very closely related in my head to the Polkadot ecosystem is Cosmos. And they are heavily used, not by the people that you necessarily think. Like the Cosmos SDK gets used all the time to build stuff. And Polkadot, with regard, Substrate is one of the coolest, like out of the box products I've seen in a long time, and has still yet to be rivaled. I mean, this blast from the past moment. I'm going to date myself in this industry a little bit, but Gavin Wood, founder of Polkadot, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, cracked open a fresh MacBook right out of the packaging, downloaded Substrate on stage during a keynote, and launched a full-scale application right there, building like an entire like chain network on Substrate live on stage during a keynote presentation in less than 15 minutes. It was wild. It's really cool. This was years ago, and it we could debate all the time about with Polkadot and the hindrances with parachains and the auctions and all these different mechanisms, whatever. But like case in point, Cosmos SDK, amazing. Polkadot Substrate, amazing. And these things are going to continue to be used. Like, so that I will say that doesn't surprise me at all. That's where we're seeing stuff like that pop up.
And people like forget, like it just comes back to like having that level of provenance and like prove they can do it before. So like, and that's why a lot of people come back to like right now it's the flash in the pan vibes, right? Like it's like, oh, this new thing's launching, I need to give it attention. Your Barachains, your Monads, your Abstracts, like all these groups that are heavily VC funded. They're diving deep into like, oh, we're going to be the this chain, right? Everyone jokes on Twitter, Monad raised like, what was it, like $8 billion on memes. Like that's what the vibe is sometimes, right? But when you come back to it, right, when institutions are entering, when they're making large partnerships, when groups are really looking for that value proposition of why would I build with you, they value time and they value longevity. And so I say it in our lives all the time. It's like, I love dinosaur chains. Like I do, okay, because I feel more secure in the way that they operate. Like people joke around a lot, but it's like people talk about Litecoin. It's like, dude, Litecoin's hilarious. Their memes are fire. They get the culture. You know what I mean? Like I'm currently running the Polygon fantasy baseball team in a Litecoin fantasy baseball league, and they all set that up. And Big League Chew is the sponsor. Like, who thinks of that? You know what I mean? But the Litecoin MFers, Litecoin MFers just get it. And not to brag, but we're number one in the league right now, and I've done nothing to get us there. We just have Aaron Judge. So it's just funny how they like think in that way. They're like, yeah, like people make fun of us. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make fun of ourselves. We're a meme coin now. So it's perfect.
I do love that transition.
To put a bow on Stacks. Just one of the reasons.
I don't want to put a bow on it just yet because I do have a question that I think could cause some debate. But Alex, go ahead with your point.
Okay, then not to put a bow on it, just to add something to the Sunday. One of the things that's kind of interesting about this is with regards to Bitcoin specifically, and we're seeing this again manifest in other ways, like Coinbase wrapping Bitcoin and trying to bring it onto the base layer or onto base, the layer 2 for Ethereum, is the idea that a lot of people have Bitcoin, and because of the nature of how DeFi has evolved over the years, you start to feel like coins and tokens that I'm holding that I'm not actively using for things are like not serving me. My money's not working for me in the same way that I would like it to. And you kind of work on leveling that up. So layer 2s like Stacks can allow you to do other things with your Bitcoin if you would like to. So, as opposed to just holding Bitcoin on a cold wallet, maybe you want to wrap some of it on a network like Stacks and then be able to participate in a yield farm or some other kind of DeFi opportunity, or liquid stake it over here and be able to, earn some yield here while using it elsewhere for something else. So that, there's risk associated with this kind of stuff. You kind of continue to layer up the risk the deeper you get involved with all these different things. But that's another one of the reasons that somebody might use something like this.
And that is a perfect segue to the question we wanted to kind of have us debate a little bit. We might all agree, maybe one of us disagrees, and that is there's there's the argument that Stacks is really valuable because Bitcoin has the most untapped liquidity within the Bitcoin ecosystem because it's the largest cryptocurrency by a country mile. If you don't know what that means, if you're not American, just by a lot. And so that's untapped liquidity that could be brought into a native built DeFi environment to earn interest off of, because if you hold Bitcoin and then you get paid interest on your Bitcoin, paid in Bitcoin, isn't that better, right? Isn't there a huge opportunity there? The answer is yes, but you have this solution built within the Bitcoin ecosystem, but you can have wrapped Bitcoin in Ethereum. You can have wrapped Bitcoin on Solana now through Zeus. You can have wrapped Bitcoin on Coinbase. You can buy your Bitcoin on Coinbase, leave it there, and just automatically, over on Base, you have CB Bitcoin that you can go earn like 2% on and increase your Bitcoin, right? So the question I have is, do you guys think Stacks has a competitive offering, knowing that Stacks will never be as fast or as cheap as Solana, as the layer 2s on Ethereum? They're going to be better DeFi environments. Or do you think that just being able to keep it within the Bitcoin environment has enough of an opportunity there to have enough adoption of it to make it something that really becomes something?
Yeah, I'll take it first, I guess. It's just like there culturally, I want to approach this from, right? Bitcoin MFers are different, right? Like if you're talking about the orange purple or the orange pilled people, right? Like they believe that Bitcoin is the all hailing God and it deserves all the respect that everybody else is getting attention wise, and they just think that nothing else is as good or it should be focused on. That's evolved recently a lot. I think that there's more flexibility in that ecosystem. But if you talk about the holistic culture of what Bitcoin means, it's the granddaddy of them all for a reason, and it's proven value for these people that believed in it early. So therefore, they're very consistent to it. So on your second point, Will, I would say that because it is natively staying within that ecosystem, I think that the OGs do believe in it. I think that's why TVL looks so solid on their side, because it looks like overall it's growing efficiently, and they just believe in this non-wrapping, like they don't believe that they need it as much, right? They believe in like leave everything on Bitcoin for a reason, stick it there because it's trusted and it has longevity. Why would I switch at this point? That's my initial point on it.
No, I think that makes sense, and I wanted your opinion on it because you're closer to the culture of it. But I also at the same time though run into the Bitcoin maxi folks, that same culture, and some of them are still pissed off that people are building on Bitcoin. Some people are pissed off about it and that Bitcoin's being used for not Bitcoin things.
Ordinals, right? Like that's what it is. That's the conversation around ordinals is like, dude, this isn't what it was intended to do. Why are you inscribing on Satoshis? Like, why are you messing with the ecosystem, right? And it's like, dude, like if tech isn't made to advance, I don't know why Bitcoin wasn't created in the first place. That's my premise. Like if it wasn't made to move forward, then Bitcoin should never have been created, because it was a whole evolution of how we do things in a digital sense. So Alex, go ahead.
I've gotten in so many arguments at Bitcoin. It's one of the reasons I honestly don't enjoy going to Bitcoin conferences anymore, like dedicated Bitcoin conferences. I've gotten in a lot of arguments with people about how insane it is for someone who is a self-diagnosed Bitcoin maximalist to, out of one side of their mouth, explain to me why they're a Bitcoin maxi, and then on the other side of their mouth, decry people exercising their freedom on Bitcoin. Like it makes absolutely no sense. If you don't like ordinals, don't fucking buy one. It's really that simple. You don't have to inscribe anything. Your Bitcoin can remain pure as the driven snow. That's totally on you, dude. But the whole point of this decentralized, remember, network is that it's decentralized and you don't get to tell people what they do with their property. That's quite literally in the white paper. That is the reason it exists. And seeing Bitcoin innovation, I love looking at this kind of stuff. We were just saying in the comments down here, the yield that STX grants you, if you're holding STX and you're staking and earning Bitcoin, it's 10.02% yield right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
There was a question about the Babylon mainnet, which I've heard of, but I was saying I'm not very familiar with, so I've got it open here. That would be an interesting one to take a little check into. But I mean, immediately I can see there's a bunch of money here. I mean, there's tens of thousands of Bitcoin to the tune of several $billion, sitting here in self-custodial Bitcoin staking. That's pretty cool. Like,
That's news to me.
yeah, that's cool as hell. It's right here on the homepage. Your Bitcoin, your rules. Period. There you go. That's all you need to know.
There it is. No, we can put a cap on that. So, but I guess in true altcoin, after dark fashion,
Yes.
Nill, we need to give Stacks a grade now. As you can give it as a grade as an investment and or as a solution, or just wrap the grade together if you want, just like your general grade on it. So Nill, as the guest tonight, go ahead. What's your grade for Stacks? And remember, this goes on chain for all solutions that you talk about.
Oh boy, coming up. We gotta tokenize this as well too. So I'm gonna give it I'll give it a strong B. Honestly, I think it's doing innovative things. Their TVL is consistent. There's been a lot of work in the space for their traction. I think and I'm a marketing guy for a lot of different reasons, right? Like I like looking at how they visibly display themselves and what they do out here with our culture. And they work hard in that direction. So I'm on that B plus vibe. I think it's actually serving a purpose. I think overall it's got a nice future. And I see them getting visible, right? I see them at IRL events. I see them on the timeline. They're trying to make this thing of a reality as far as how much beneficial there are. And people are talking about it. So they have like that community aspect of chatter as far as what I see out there. So overall, it's in that B plus range.
Mm-hmm. Alex, how about you?
Yeah, kind of going back to my closing point. I am a big fan of people exercising their on-chain freedom to add options for people. I mean, that's really what I want is authentic representation and different options. I want people to be able to pick and choose the things that they get to do with their property and their money. That is quite literally what we're all doing here. So in that sense, I'm a big fan. Honestly, interestingly, investment-wise, over its entire lifespan, it's not doing terrible. Like its bottom in 2020 to where we are now, it's 10x from where it was. It saw a bottom around 50, 60 cents, and it's about 5 or 6 cents, and it's about 50 or 60 cents right now. Obviously, like Will was saying, if you look at the rest of the altcoin space, from what is this peak here, December, it's been pretty much a jagged drop off the cliff. It's pulling a lemming, not quite a lemon,
but the fact that it ran up to a $3, I mean, it ran up synonymously with Bitcoin, obviously, right? But the fact that it ran all the way to $3.01 and it stayed pretty consistent for a minute, like, pretty bullish, man. Honestly, where everything else is like, it's gonna get wrecked at this point, right? It's a layer 2, but ain't that the beauty of it?
Yeah. So, Alex, what's your grade?
Well, as a solution, as a project, and as an idea, it's a strong. I would agree with a strong B. I think it's really cool. It's the OG as far as like adding stuff to Bitcoin goes. So B feels good. I don't hold it. I actually have never held it. And I can't say that I'm like in a hurry to invest in it and buy it because, the way that I use my Bitcoin is just to keep it as far away from everyone else as possible and keep it forever. So I would say more of like a C. I would split the difference and say B minus.
Okay.
Fair grade.
For me, it was funny. Coming into this conversation, I saw Stacks and I go like, oh, I don't give a crap about this. I hadn't looked at it, paid attention to it at all. I'd invested in it, made money on it from 2023 into 2024. But looking at DeFi Llama and seeing that the amount of stacks is just up and to the right while the markets crater. I mean, shit. I like things that are getting adoption amongst this targeted audience. It's getting adoption amongst this targeted audience.
True.
I would have said I'll give it. I would have come in here and I would have given Stacks a C minus. But I think it doesn't feel right giving it a B plus because there's way too much competition out there with wrapped Bitcoin and, in my opinion, DeFi environments that will always be superior in terms of the experience. So I would give it a B minus with zero surprise at all that if the DeFi adoption continues on the pace that it has, that it could be something that rebounds pretty hard in the future. So I'm also going to give it. I'm gonna give it a B.
There we go.
We've achieved relative consensus with the first grade, and this bodes well.
Yes. Now I'm curious about Injective because I feel like Injective isn't getting adoption, but again, I haven't looked in a long time. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't show up on DeFi Llama.
Yeah.
I don't think it's total TVL does. It's sitting at 28 million right now as far as on DeFi Llama. So let me go look some other places. Hold on.
Will, I'm curious to get your first reaction to the max history of its price chart. If you look at what its chart looks like from its inception, because it's
crazy.
It's quite something.
Dude, I'm telling like MFers run the timeline all about Injective in the middle of 2024. They were thinking that like gaming, NFTs, like they were deep into Injective, running all the way from its all-time low at $1.06 all the way up to its max at $52. That's a wicked run.
Let me show you guys this chart. And it's funny because like I don't remember Injective being around in 2020. I remember Injective catching headlines and getting my attention in 2023 because when Bitcoin started picking up in the bear market, you had Solana, Render, and Injective became the three coins that really popped off in 2023. Here is the chart. So this is 2020 going into the bear market in 2022 to 2023, and then just a godly run. And then, of course, where we're sitting currently is right in this batch of price action here, which is where price is now. So you can see price from its high has, it would be helpful if I clicked the correct things. Price from its high has fallen 85%, which is a pretty damn big fall, but that's not exclusive for a lot of altcoins right now.
Yeah. And I want to address I like MMG's comment in the chat. Injective is starting to look into the chain more than the token, which is a very interesting statement just based off of their activity overall and like what's being built there. It's similar for a lot of like your altcoins in this nature. It's like very interesting technology. Team looks like they have like a lot of headwind as far as how they're trying to adopt and collaborate with others. And but overall, from a token perspective, it's like where are we going to go now, right? Because of that rip. It's the same vibes that like, I mean, I think that Solana's got a long way to go as far as like what token value will look like overall. But it's that same energy of like, yo, during this bear market move from $8 to 265, that's also one thing you worry about on that end too. It's a similar energy for me.
Yeah, I'll say Injective's ecosystem is pretty impressive. There's a lot of really, really big names that are integrated or I was recalling a piece of your stream earlier today, Nill. We were making fun of the general idea of crypto-based partnerships. Injective is a really good example of ways that protocols and different ecosystems can actually run a legitimate collaboration or partnership, or as you would say, like the more technical term, integration of some sort, meaning that in some way, you know, project A and project B are connected, and there is some way for users to get a benefit between the two for having, like when I think of a way that an integration is actually meaningful, let's pick one, for example. So Piff, actually, I think that was even on the list, or Sonic. There's a few others. There's a whole bunch, but you know, these are projects that like do a thing, Injective does another thing, and now they combine their powers and Wonder Twins activate an actual meaningful level up of both people's thing that they do, instead of just the classic crypto partnership, which is like we're partnered with Google, which is code for we are using Google storage.
Cloud. Yeah, like that's what it is. It's so much different.
Yeah.
Will, go ahead.
I was going to say, so how much weekly revenue do you think Injective is pulling in?
I don't know.
That's a good one. I have absolutely no idea.
I don't even know.
Weekly revenue is $90,878 a week. That's pretty damn good.
What's their market cap?
A week? It's a week. So they're pulling in $418,000 in revenue every 30 days. Dude, that's
768 million market cap.
That beats some of the layer 2s that are like mid cap coins.
No, that part is true. But if we try to think about like objectively, not compared to other crypto projects, because comparing crypto projects based on revenue is not smart, in that most of them have none.
Yeah, but the ones that do actually have revenue, that should make it more meaningful, should it not?
No, it's true. It's true. What does that pull out to on a yearly basis? I can't do math.
Well, if you do 400, basically 400, let's just do 400,000. 400,000 times 12, that's 400, 480. You're basically looking at half $500,000 a year. Right? Did I do that head math right? No, I did not. No, you know. It is. Yeah, no, I was right. It's 5. Sorry, I was off by one comma point, 10. It's $5 million a year.
Okay, so $5 million a year in rough aggregated ecosystem revenue for an ecosystem with a market cap of $750 million is a long stretch from typical company valuation metrics.
Hey, I'm going to push back on you. We all know that regular company valuation metrics in crypto don't matter, so don't pay attention to them, and it's not valid. All right? Just look at the revenue.
But when I look at, like, if you pull up the old llama and you look at the ones with
the old llama. If
we consult the llama and we look at something like, I mean, even still, Ethereum's ecosystem, chain revenue for or ecosystem app revenue for 24 hours, for example, we're looking at $1 million a day. Ethereum running, actually they added chain revenue for all of these too. It used to just be app revenue. $500,000 a day in fees, $100,000 a day in revenue.
I love how excited you got at DeFi Llama having a new feature. Ooh.
Nerd shit. I love it.
Nerd shit.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, Solana app revenue. Take a guess at what Solana's on-chain app revenue was today.
Oh,
I
man.
bet it was $5 million.
Nill, any guesses?
I'd go half of that.
6.8 million today.
Damn it, bro.
If this was the Price is Right, it'd be in a good spot. Damn.
No,
yeah, Price is Right rules. You did take that one, but I mean, and that's at a time when TVL is down from 11 billion in January to 7 billion today. So still, I mean, and Jito is bonkers. $2.5 million in fees today alone. Jito's making $100,000 a day in revenue. Like, see that's my, like, not to poo-poo too hard on Injected's revenue because it's better than the overwhelming majority of the space. But I still think it's worth repeating just to make my curmudgeon-y voice heard that we need to think about revenue more with these big protocols.
Yeah, totally fair. The Pump.Fund intern was in my live stream today. So that was funny. I was like looking through and then like I just saw like a Pump.Fund logo and I was like, you're not Pump.Fund. And then I went to the account. There was the actual Pump.Fund account. And I was like, get the hell out of here. What are you doing in my live? Go somewhere else.
Yeah. That guy is Evan and I had a meeting with him when he launched his TikTok account to help him like make a TikTok. And I will say I've enjoyed watching his journey ever since, but we ended that meeting and I was immediately like, dude, that was like talking to a rat on speed. Like that that guy did not stop twitching he was Pump.Fun as a person. Like if you look at the Pump.Fun homepage and this guy, he managed to recreate like a self-portrait of himself with a web page. It was bonkers. He was Mr. Pump.Fun himself. And then what's crazy and my favorite brush with a crazy person story is I had that meeting with that dude. He then went on to launch Pump.Fun and clear $500 million in revenue in the next half a year. Like insane.
It's crazy work out there.
Wild, dude. Yeah, absolutely bonkers.
Dude, you got to be a special kind of crazy to be the intern at Pump.Fun. Like you just got to be.
Yeah, this was the founder. We talked to the guy who like launched it when he was like he asked us for feedback on the thing and what's really funny is I like rack my brain to go back and Evan would be able to confirm, but I'm pretty sure Evan and him were talking about the idea of live streaming as a feature. And him saying like, I can't wait to do that. It's on my short list, and we all know how that went. But although they're bringing it back, hey, they said they fixed the problem and they're bringing it back.
Oh, joy. I still think of the video of like, I think it was like an 11-year-old or 12-year-old kid, and he created a coin and then rugged everybody at like a $30,000 market cap, and he made like 20 grand. He's like, oh, and then the market just then soared it to like a $5 million market cap. He's like, no.
What his famous line was thanks for the 20 bandos, douchebags. And then he said,
that was it. Thanks for the 20 bandos.
In true crypto fashion, he then made another one called I'm Sorry, then he rugged that one too.
Which is just, I don't know if it's poetic, but it's certainly something.
It's certainly something. That's that intern was in my live, and I was like, pump.fun, it's good for the space. And he was like, let's go. And I was like, I know you wanted I knew you wanted to hear that. So like, yeah, all right. Open source, all that kind of stuff, yada yada, with responsibility, asterisk.
Yeah. But we were talking about Injective. So
back to Injective. We keep doing this shit.
But anyway.
So Injective. I like how they display their so I put the marketing hat on every time, marketing background, yada yada. I really like the website and how they're displaying their apps. That's what it comes down to. They're really giving visibility to the teams that are building efficiently on their chain. Like their collaborations look very strong. That, like, Alex, you were pointing that out as well. But just seeing like Agora. If you guys haven't looked into AUSD, like Agora is fantastic. It's one of the teams that we work with at Polygon as well. AUSD is very interesting on that side, right? Sonic is on this website as well. Like it's like you can see that they're really trying to bring visibility to not only themselves, but also the greater ecosystem at large, which is always something that you want to see from your teams overall. And it looks like they have a clean, open, like if I were to jump into Injective for the first time, I would know where to get my wallet, I would know where to stake, and I would know how governance works. And those are the three things that I like to make sure I understand before I jump into any new project, and it's easily displayed and easily visible right here. And so I really enjoy that process overall.
So what makes you like their ecosystem? Because both of you guys said at the start of this, like, oh, yeah, like, and there was a comment that said, oh, I don't know about the token, but I like what they're building. So what is it really in that ethos that both of you like? And Nill, you just answered, so Alex, how about you go first?
So a lot has changed since the very first, full disclosure, the very first time I looked at Injective, it was because we were launching a project and we needed a home ecosystem, and Injective was on the short list. We ended up axing it from the short list, and this was in early 2021, into the summer of 2021. So it was nearly unusable at that point. There was a lot of problems, and basically the devs that we were working with at the time kind of sat there, tried to figure it out. There was a lot of limitations on the way that you could do any kind of contracting, and it just wouldn't work, and we couldn't do half the things we wanted to do, and it was very clunky and hard to navigate. Language limitations were pretty severe, so we sort of exited and moved on. But at the time, myself included, a lot of us were holding Injective and, interested in the whole overall ecosystem. And so I don't hold it anymore. It was one of those that, I lost along the way as I round tripped my 2021 bull market bags, rip. But since then, the level up on all of their documentation is crazy. This is a really good example of a group. By the way, this isn't sponsored by any of these things that we're talking about. Isn't sponsored.
Not yet.
But could be.
But if you look at the homepage, like to Nill's point, just go to injective.com. One of the first links that I see is the big old learn button. It's one of 4 buttons on the top. Great. I go there and immediately I just see, level up your skills, dive in and learn core building blocks. And it's a huge documentation link to the hub, to their full tokenomics doc right there in the middle, the full tokenomics, which is a multi-page PDF explaining all about the token for those who want to dive in and get into that. And then I'll give you this one, Nill. We can share the marketing tip of the hat. iAssets is great branding for on-chain Injective assets. Love that.
It's good.
But programmable real-world assets. Like, I'm enjoying the fact that a lot of this is written without jargon. And then right underneath it, I've got a quick 4-minute video about Injective that's just the story. I've got a starting guide. Like next, I go on to building insights into Bitcoin or blockchain and financial innovation. The flow is really nice. I would be interested to spend a little bit more time rereading some of this stuff because this whole website is new. Like this is not old.
Yeah, it's very new.
Yeah, this is really, really nice. This
It's clean as hell.
it doesn't feel to me like a crypto website. It feels to me like I'm forgetting the name of all the websites right now, but like the coursework websites that you go to that then have like modules that you then click through to learn about whatever course or topic you paid to learn about, right? That's what it kind of feels like here, and it's really nice.
Yeah, overall, and like just from like this is one of my complaints about our website too, and I guess this naturally happens about like Injective's new, right? Like my team is old, so like when you naturally have an older ecosystem, you compile more teams, you compile more data, you compile more things that your ecosystem can do, and so like in comparison to that, like Injective is very streamlined because there isn't as much like there is as much like things over there because they haven't been bogged down by operations and things that are happening. But if you look at these teams, and this takes time, like this last comment here, is if you look at who is connecting to them, besides like their featured areas, right? If you go into dApps, like Ondo is highlighted here, the connected chains, some of the biggest ones are out there. Obviously, your Avalanches, your Arbitrums, your Polygons, your Solanas, your Ethereums, all these things. But then if you dive really deep into like the infrastructure side, they're working with like Chainlink. They're working with Espresso. They're working with Fireblocks and the Graph and Layer 0. Like that is where we get deep down into the different things that they can actually do. And they're wallet providers. You have Ledger, MetaMask, and Phantom, Trezor and Kepler and Binance Wallet. Like they are, it's household names in the space, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you layer it in easily like that, and it's names that if you've been, again, these aren't names of people that have only been here for 6 months, a year, will probably see. But after you're deeper in and you've started using native apps more often, then you're going to see them be like, damn, I know those names. It makes me feel more confident about using them because I'm familiar with the dApps that I have to interact with. And it just makes that process that much more seamless and comfortable for people that are trying to use a new ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we're going to put a feather in the cap of Injective, what grades, Alex, would you give it? And are you going to split it up into a separate grade of the token as an investment and the solution?
Yeah, I was just looking. I mean, I'll be honest, the token sketches me out a bit.
Yeah.
The chart's rough, dude. We were, in early 2023, we're bopping around below $2. The thing absolutely exploded to north of 50, and now it's back down to 7.5. So these kinds of charts are hard to escape. I don't need to launch into a diatribe about it, but I'm like, I am not in a hurry to buy this right now, but I will say that given how everything else looks, I would really like to do some more reading about it because the fact that it's down this far and the fact that it has been known to explode is tempting. That's something to consider just from a raw, might be worth taking a risk kind of position. And if they're setting up, like you said, Nill, with, trimming a lot of the fat, pulling all the bloat out, just streamlining the website and the ability for you to, dig in there, learn, build something, launch something. It's super streamlined. I'm like, they might be poised to do something big if the, tariffs don't crater the rest of the world economy for the next year, which, we have a fat grain of salt on literally all of these tokens' potential, given the fact that a lot of it's outside of the control of the entire industry there. But in that sense, I don't know, man, I'm feeling like I'm kind of in C territory, but I'm really excited by how good the website is. So like the website's like getting an A for me right now.
Website's an A. All right.
Yeah, website's A plus, and what was it in high school? An advanced placement, so you get extra GPA boost on that one. So the AP stats, if you will. Mm-hmm. But the token opportunity is a little bit more sketchy on that side. So I'm in that C plus range, I would say as well. Just based off of it takes a village, man. And again, like taking mind share in the bear market is such a useful tool. I talk about this a lot when I'm, yapping about, how this pronged approach for how you win out here in the space. And mind share is one of the most massive prongs, in my opinion. You look at your souls and your XRPs. That's a kind of a constitute to that. But overall, I would say just because you don't know if that will ever return, I'm in that C plus range.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it. Nah, I don't want to just be a C plus.
Look at all us. Oh, we're just clustering.
I'm just like, God damn it. I was like, do it, but I don't feel good about giving it a B minus because I don't like investing in dinosaur coins unless they have like a ton of adoption, right? And in no way, shape, or form does Injective have a ton of adoption. So I'm gonna give it a C plus as well. But we are going to note website is nice with a smiley face.
This is my face. That's
With
good.
a
That's
smiley
good.
face.
Isn't it so funny that we talk about dinosaur coins that were launched like less than 4 years ago? But like it's true. It's true. Like we talk about like blue chip
Hey,
stocks. It's like,
Injective's been around for a while.
Apple. Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, Apple. That's a dinosaur. Google.
Yeah.
Safe bet. Doesn't stress on your stock prices. And then you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, dinosaur coin, 3.5 years. You're like, hold the fucking phone.
Well, it's funny too.
Wait a second.
Wait a
Today I
second.
was talking to my dad about he's been helping me with some dev work because I can't afford an engineer, and I'm lucky that I was birthed to one. And I had texted him, I don't know, it's been months at this point, just like, hey, need some help with some dev work. Here's kind of the situation. Do you know anything you can do to help, whatever. We had a chat today, and he was like, he opened it by saying, hey, so I built a blockchain. And we're talking about just like, he's been a software engineer since the, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s. And his answer to figuring out how to do smart contract building on Solana was to launch a full-scale 100 node on his personal machine Solana testnet and start test deploying smart he built his own faucet and everything, and he's running a 100 node testnet blockchain on his home computer for fun right now. And
Jesus, your dad's cracked.
yeah, he's
He is.
nuts. It was very funny. I was like, okay, Dad, so
God bless the work.
taking this real seriously.
Yeah, I didn't need you to dive that deep, like 40 leagues under the sea deep,
Well, it's
but
funny 'cause-
apparently you are.
Nill, when we did the movement deal with them, and I asked him for his opinion on Move as a network or as a blockchain, as a language, specifically as it relates to blockchain development. He's like, okay, yeah, when do you need the answer by? And I was like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? He's like, no, I don't have any thoughts yet. And then he came in, he's like, all right, so I've deployed a few things to the network. And I'm like, oh my God.
There's levels to this nerdness. You know what I mean? Like we're on that level of like, okay, we got the surface level ideas. We can dive deep into the TVLs and all the DeFi apps and get into it. But then there's a level where you're like, okay, so I actually had to mix the sauce itself in order for me to understand that.
Right.
I'm just not baking the brownies. I can't do that, right? But it is good to see that there's people that will and are excited to do so.
I bring this up just because as we talk, like as I sit here and talk about, like we just said, dinosaur chains that are a couple years old, my dad is one of those people like, you're out of your mind. These things are barely startups. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair.
I do like the idea because like building a blockchain allows you to like break out of the traditional financial system and traditional like data IT infrastructure system as well. And I just love like you go and you ask your dad a question. He's like, all right, hang on 1 second. All right, so I just broke and destroyed the current financial system. What answer do you need?
That's pretty much it. But I mean, that's how I was onboarded into Web3 in general. I texted a friend of mine that was an engineer that I went to school with, and I was like, hey, do you know about this blockchain thing? Like, do you know what it is? Can you explain it to me? And he was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And so he like pulled me up on a screen share, and he built one from scratch while talking me through the entire process of how it worked. And that's how I learned what blockchain was. And that guy worked for UPS, And they used blockchain to generate tracking numbers ages ago because it was a way to prove and to track that you never duplicated a tracking number. And they go through so many of those things that they needed fast, safe, secure, immutable tracking number generation, and they used blockchain to do it. So, fun fact.
I did see an interesting question. It was by Nick Johnson. It doesn't have to do with any altcoin, but the question that I found interesting was, don't you not own anything if crypto is built off of traditional IT server infrastructure? Like, if it's on the internet, isn't it then not necessarily something that you own? So you can actually access like crypto and stuff. It's a great question. You can actually access crypto and stuff through satellites without any Wi-Fi. You can do that. So it doesn't have to be attached to the internet. In fact, there's a lot of places that don't have any internet yet. How do you bank the bankless? But you can do it through satellite connections. Nill, are there any other ways for people to be able to interact with the Web3 community or environment and ecosystem outside of internet, satellite connection? Are there any other sneaky ways that I haven't thought of or heard of that you know of?
Dude, I mean, like, what do you say about buying Bitcoin from vending machines? You know what I mean? Like, think about that as like owning Bitcoin on paper. Like, that is a thing that was very popular, 2 years, like probably during last bull market, honestly. I remember I was going up to my local gas station and they put in a Bitcoin vending machine. And it was just like, you own this much Bitcoin and this is your like a purchasing price, and this is all. So like there is like the traditional sense that like back in the stock market when they were just tickers coming off of a printing machine, it's almost the exact same way. So that's like the one thing that comes to mind, though. I'd have to scrape my brain for a few other options there. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I think those are what we have. But yeah, I hadn't thought about the Bitcoin vending machines. But yeah, so Nick, I hope that helps answer your question there, because I think it's a fascinating one that a lot of people don't ask. Now, guys, we've looked up a few altcoins, but you guys let us know in the comment section. Throw us a couple altcoins. We'll pick one that seems spicy, and we'll do a quick little review there. But while I wait for that, it's a good time for a quick little commercial. If you guys are not already in the Rise Up Discord, it is a totally free to join Discord where Nill dances all the time, and where you can go and you can tag myself, Alex, Evan, who sadly is not here, but he's on a family vacation. You can ask us questions for free. There are paid memberships as well that get you a whole bunch of stuff for free that are paid for, and a bunch of discounts to stuff like courses, discounts to recordings of courses if you can't attend them live. We have a bunch of referral codes to get you discounts and a whole bunch of stuff as well. But the big thing is like it's a community that you can join for free and ask us questions at any time that you want, because getting to all the questions on videos commented via TikTok is impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah, and if you want to do that, you can go, if you want to join the Discord, you can go to the riseupmorningshow.com. Again, that is the riseupmorningshow.com, or click the link on my profile page, Alex's profile page. If the link doesn't work for you, send us a DM. We will get to you eventually. It'll just take us a little bit of time. So I hope to see you guys there. So we have Solnick, we have Tia Celestia, the official Trump coin, AVAX. Let's see.
I saw Say in there. That's kind of interesting.
Say is an interesting one.
Flux as well. I know we've done Flux before. We've done AVAX before. Thoughts on Polygon?
Yeah, we can't do that one.
we can't do Polygon tonight, guys.
Legally cannot do Polygon.
Yeah, legally cannot do Polygon. So let's. I don't know. I'm interested in Say, but we have Moonwell, Helium, Radium, White Rock, Dara. My God, it's interesting. This is like the first time we've asked, and it hasn't been just like a whole bunch of one coin. I think it's because like crypto prices are in the toilet, and all the influencers are all talking about the same 2-3 coins. Yeah. So do you guys want to do Say and?
I think so. We just got a huge influx of stuff. I think we can't. Let's
a lot of Solnick also.
Fire through a series of them if you want to do that.
Oh wait, Solnick is the meme coin, right?
Yeah, Solnick's the meme coin. Sonic.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I thought it was another project for a second, but let's start with Say, and I'll write some. So I'm going to write some of these down, and if you guys want to go start talking about Say, go for it.
The Solnick MFR is coming through strong tonight, eh? Jeez, oh man, you people. God bless them. God bless their belief. All right, so Say is interesting, man. I think Say is so full transparency. When I was, looking for my full-time work in blockchain, I was interviewing Say. And Say has a very interesting ecosystem because they built their culture out very aggressively early on, before there was much happening. And Say is interesting as well because it has you. My wife's like, talk softer. I'm upstairs. But Say has unified. Their transactions settle both on SVM and EVM simultaneously, right? So they have like kind of that aspect of efficiency and speed of Solana and security and like DeFi aspects of Ethereum, right? So overall, it just presents a very interesting, unique case of what they're trying to accomplish overall. Now, I think the negative portion of this, and I think that the Say team would agree with them. I'm friends with a lot of these individuals. I appreciate what they do in the space. I want to preface it with that. I feel it's funny because I can talk freely on this app, not as freely on Twitter. So I'm going to talk freely. The They are at a very interesting pivot point because they dumped a lot of attention into the PFP and culture era that was happening during the bear market. They saw a lot what was happening on our chain over at Polygon. They saw a lot of like what the culture movement happened on Sol. And so they push a lot of culture for that reason. And there were projects that were booming. Like there was projects minting for 50 Say that ran up to 5,000 Say. There were very unique applications. And the best part about their PFP projects was they actually came with developers and utility on the back end. So the PFPs were made for staking your Say through the PFP as kind of a wrapped situation. The PFPs were made for different learning aspects and different like educational avenues. So there was actually like an interesting use case behind them. Unfortunately, of course, as we know about PFP nature, the roadmap ends eventually, and the drip stops dripping, if you will, as far as the revenue aspect. So it wasn't as much as another area for them to grow effectively. And now they're kind of having an identity crisis. They've put in a bid to buy 23andMe as an interesting way to jump into the DeSci area, which we know that 23andMe's data was all released on the black market anyway. So what does that actually evaluate? What does that actual valuation mean? Question mark. Now they've kind of pivoted into Say is in America, right? Which we're launching the Say Foundation. I think it's the Say Developer Foundation based out of New York to get the favor of our lovely individuals that operate on DC. So they're kind of having this identity crisis right now of what the next move is. Their DeFi and their gaming ecosystem seems to be gaining traction, but what is valid of those things? A lot of the Say community, I'm in a bunch of Say community because I think that their culture is interesting, but a lot of those chats, and a lot of them call it a farmed, gamified ecosystem that isn't actually doing the transactions that are really out there. So I think that's a valid kind of overview of what Say is doing right now, but I do like their vibes. I do like Red. I do like the energy of their website and marketing from a holistic perspective. So any other opinions on that side, Alex and Will?
Yeah, it's interesting to see the pivots in narrative focus just because, like I said, it was pretty DeFi focused at first. I mean, it's built using an interesting method of consensus, which is called Open Order Book, which was kind of built. Honestly, we talked about it a little bit when we had Brett on the show talking about Mega ETH. Because, one of Mega ETH's goals with the, near instant finality is the ability to front run the front runners, so to speak, and like cancel out the ability for people to MEV attack traders on chain without having to use third party software. And Say's consensus mechanism is another one of the ways that you can kind of beat those scam attempts. For those who, it was a lot of jargon. So, MEV stands for maximal extractable value or max extract value, something. It's basically just a way of making sure that transactions and things on chain are ordered in the most ideal way to get the most value out of everything that you do. And it's, you'll see it used as a buzz phrase in marketing a lot, MEV resistant, that kind of stuff. So the way that it will manifest and affect you is if you're trying to buy let's just say you're trying to buy a meme coin or some other altcoin or something on a decentralized exchange, you submit your transaction request and the price jumps too far while you're waiting. Your slippage isn't high enough. The amount that the price is allowed to change before you confirm the transaction isn't high enough. Someone can manipulate that out from underneath you. And that's by using a method of attack called MEV. So Say was kind of built in a way to sort of help avoid that by open sourcing the entire order book and making it so that everyone could see every transaction submitted at the instant that it was submitted and that it was all like open. So that itself was interesting. Anyway, so I started off very DeFi heavy focused. It's interesting to see the pivots. I don't know. I haven't had a ton of reasons to really write home about it. I had a few friends that went in, like you said, Nill, that were real heavy in the beginnings with different farming methods and trying to get this airdrop and that and all that sort of stuff. And I sat those out. I just frankly didn't have time to try to figure out how to farm everything. So it was, I don't know. It makes me a little bit, I gotta say, it makes me a little bit bearish to hear too much pivoting, especially since TVL's not bad. Like it's young, and I would say that it's in a pretty good spot considering that it's high enough at least to be, up on the first, what is that, the top 15 ecosystems by TVL. That's not bad. I think it's too early to start trying to pivot to do too many other things. And, if you're launching to be specific focused and then a couple months later, you're like, just kidding, we're general purpose, because you're getting eclipsed by Sui, who they often get compared to, even though, as I always say, it's a pet peeve of mine. It's a ridiculous comparison. They're not even remotely close to the same thing. The only thing
they both start with an S.
I know their tickers are really close, but I don't know. Like, did they succumb? Did they succumb to that kind of pressure? You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know. It gives me kind of the heebie-jeebies, to be honest.
So the last comment I'll make on it is, I again love my Say homies, love the team. I think the average age at that team is probably 23 years old. You know what I mean? And so, and that's true of a lot of teams out here, right? That's true of the abstract team. That's true of the Monad team. That's true of a lot of new teams that have built something unique, and they had a big run up and they felt like, oh, we can kind of puff our chests out right now, right? And God bless what the work they've done, and they've really honed in on making sure that they still foster community effectively. So they've done a lot of great work, but that makes me anxious, right? And when I was deciding what direction I was going in my professional career, there was a dollar and cents associated with these things, but I kind of made the direction to make sure that I was in a secure place more than in an overly fruitful place. That's the conversation that I'll lead with.
Mm-hmm. And this is what I have to say, and I'll show you guys some charts and stuff about Say, is I kind of like it and I'm rooting for it, but it is in such a competitive field. I don't see how or why they're differentiating themselves to be something that lasts outside of an additional tool to speculate and potentially make money off of as you trade. So this is Say on the weekly time frame. As you can see, like as a trader, I'd go, oh, okay, I'm interested. Maybe one day if it looks like it's going to break this line of resistance, I might have a trade. That's about as interested as I am in Say. If I look at DeFi Llama, and again, we're looking at the ticker SEI, you can see that at a time where the markets are doing shitty, its TVL is doing well. I like to see that. And I have a general rule of thumb, Nill, that says if the TVL is less than $300 million, you don't have to pay attention to it at all. And it's a $400 million TVL. And so in a bear market, I'm like, oh, I like that sign. Like that's pretty solid. If I look at the distribution and I look at the inflation, each day you have an inflation, but it is only increasing the supply, let's see, by, here we go, 0.11% is inflated daily. That's pretty low. And once we get to the end of August, it actually will get cut by a pretty significant amount. So there are things I like about Say as a potential trade scenario, because it has some good adoption, has some decent tokenomics. If it had a good trade setup, I'd be happy to take a trade on it. But is it something that I think is really going to really be around for a long time? I don't know. Maybe. But it's competing against the Solanas, the Ethereum layer 2s of the world. It's, competing against 30 other, layer ones as well that are all trying to do something specific or special, or and who's to say how many more layer ones are going to get made over the next 2 years that use the next exciting technology that the Says and the Swees and this current cycle's birth of layer ones that were exciting and caught people's eyes. Are they going to stick around, or are they going to be old technology, old news kinds of stuff, right? And so that's the scenario that says that, even though it has some good stuff. So I'll go first with a grade. For Say, I'd give it a C plus as something that really has my interest. As something to trade, I'd give it a B. I think it's on your list of coins to pay attention to if you're really just a trader. But otherwise, I'd give it a C. I might even give it a B plus as something to trade. I have a hard time combining those together because they're so vastly different from one another. So I guess my grade collectively, though, is a B minus.
That's fair. Go ahead, Alex.
I don't think I can give it a B just because, for me, like I said, they shifted without, for me, narrative wise, they shifted too quickly from trying to build in a competitive space, which is DeFi focused ecosystem, not the easiest space to break out in, especially at this point. There's huge TVL elsewhere that you're competing with. Then they pivoted into more of a general purpose focus, which is also very hard to compete with. And interestingly, in that sense, they're kind of competing with the same people, but now they're flopping around, and that makes your case weaker. I don't have any beef with what it is. I've said in my very first video that I ever posted about it, describing and defining what open order book consensus was. I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen that consensus mechanism before. I think that's cool. I think that anyone taking a genuine stand, and that's why I liked it as a DeFi focus, because you're trying to appeal to DeFi and you have a very specific bonus, like open order book, DeFi, boom. Would have graded it a lot higher, but I've got to be low C's just because you're kind of it's a C minus for me overall.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in that C range. Again, just knowing the team and knowing who they're backed by from a VC perspective, they have fucking weapons over there, yo.
Yeah.
They got missiles and they got nukes and they got some juice, right? So the flippy floppy vibes, it sucks because it ruins a narrative and that makes me anxious. But the road, the runway is very elongated. That's what I want to say. So I think that puts me in that C plus range, just based off my own personal knowledge. But from a general perspective, it is in that middle tier of damn, just focus on something. You know what I mean? You need to that changing narratives almost to chase what people aren't accomplishing is pretty harmful, right? It's something that people have critiqued us at Polygon about, right? That's something that's very okay to say about us is hey, I love the comment. Who said this? Who said that comment here? Resident said, old wine in new bottles. That's a crazy comment. And it's in a good way. And I feel like I just caught crossfire or stray bullets a little bit, but that's good. I like that. Yeah. Right. And so overall, it's just one of those things where you hope the best for it because the team has a good mind and they have good intentions for the space. But right now, because of how many pivots, it makes me anxious as an overall user. And I think the community would probably agree with that, honestly.
Well, guys, congratulations. We had the widest spread of our grades on that one.
We did it. Let's go.
Hooray. We ever so slightly disagreed to some sort of it.
And you know what? We're doing our best over here.
I was going to say, it's probably as far as we'll ever get disagreeing. Let's be really honest. Just based off of how we think. That is probably about as far as we'll disagree on something.
Yeah. I know. Genuinely trying to find one that I thought maybe we could fight about, but I think just to rapid fire through the list of what I've got on my paper.
Okay.
We have radium, which I feel like all of us would, I'm gonna do my best to give the quick analysis and tell me if I miss what you guys would say about it. So radium, huge DEX, most routes on Solana are still flowing through it. If you don't believe me, you can check it yourself. It's crazy that it gets overlooked the way that it does, considering that most trade routes flow through it. That is changing. It's not as heavy and prevalent as it used to be, but it is surprising if you go and you actually look at SolScan following a transaction, how many of the trade routes, even if they don't say it, are going through Radium. It's still nuts. Vera, proof of liquidity is a really interesting mechanism, but like, you know, some launch stuff was a little bit sus. The team is odd. I have a very close personal friend who was working on getting a job there, and the vibes were rough. So interesting. Two very separate things: internal office culture and outside. In front of open doors, or however. What's the opposite of behind closed doors? But don't know that much about it. Evan has a really long write up on Bera, but Hedera feels like it falls right into that, old wine, new bottle kind of idea, where the engineering team at Hedera is super cracked. They are so smart. It's so interesting to talk to them. They are the definition of just like brilliant people, heads down building stuff, couldn't give less of a shit what anyone else thinks about anything to do with the network. Like, Will and I met their VP of engineering at ETH Denver. It was an interesting conversation. One of my very good friends has worked for Hedera in documentation for years.
Meeting their whole team, I was like, do I want to buy HBAR? And then I walked around and I was like, do I want to buy HBAR? And I was like,
Will,
no,
you gotta remember, you
like,
can't only buy crypto based on who I know, because you would have a very large portfolio at that point.
Yeah, but I could just buy like $2 worth and just have my little merit badge.
That's true. Yeah.
HBAR owner.
It should be, at this point, I feel like I'm working my way up to becoming a CoinGecko category of just like Alex's friends. And it's just like every company that my friends work at all in one list. Moonwell was an interesting one. We've covered it a lot. It's popped up a lot. It's one of those, it's a badass service. A lot of people used it. It was in high demand. They found product market fit pretty early. Good for them. That doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen easy. Avalanche, love it. Big fan of the ecosystem. They made a very bold choice to go that hardcore into one niche narrative with gaming. I think they're killing it. To be very honest with you, I don't think token price reflects fairly how much amazing stuff is happening with the gaming space specifically.
That has surprised me in the past 2 years, that Avalanche got like zero respect after last cycle being like the second most favored crypto behind Solana, when Solana and Avalanche first, kind of hit the market. Because Avalanche is at the same time I was experimenting with Avalanche, because on Avalanche in the early days it was a not so great user experience, because you had the A chain, the B chain, and the C chain. You had to make sure you were using the correct chain, otherwise your Avalanche was poof gone. And now it's just automatic. You don't have to worry about that stuff. It's all behind the scenes. And at the same time, I was using Polygon, and I was just like, yeah, Avalanche is so easy to use in comparison.
Oh my God. Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about that. You know how many times I've disconnected from a Twitter space or had to reset my phone or something, and somebody goes, "Oh, don't worry, Nill's just bridging." Oh my dude. Nill's just bridging. That's a classic comment, but
that is an S tier roast.
Yeah, that is an S tier roast. But I just want to say that, like, since then, like, I've used Trader Joe, the decentralized exchange, on Avalanche, and I've used other solutions as well. And Avalanche is just like a really well built, user friendly environment, and it had all the pieces there to get people. It had a bunch of people chatting about it, but I think it's because they went so hard on Web3 gaming with their marketing, and that was just a narrative that didn't pop off. Like, I think we were all kind of expecting it to. And as a result, they kind of got, like, attention-wise left behind. Not from a development standpoint, they're doing fine, but I think that's just kind of what happened to them.
They pissed me off with their meme coin movement they made recently. I'll be honest. That whole
with Cockinu?
No, Cockinu is fantastic. I love Cockinu.
We love Cock.
Dude, if you don't like some Cockinu, I don't know what you like anymore. That's the main thing. But like then they try to pivot and just onboard all the Sol degens by launching pre-release stuff, right? And it started with Ket, right? And that was fine. It was an interesting avenue. very like art based and like unique storylines, and Ket was fun, right? And then Ket switched over to Blub, and then Blub switched over to all these other meme coins, and it was like, yo, dog, like, can we just slow roll this a little bit and not just launch 15 different memes at once with pre-sales to attract all the degens over? And now if you look at the Ket chart, and now if you look at the Blub chart, and now you look at all these other charts, they're wrecked. And it sucks. And that's what happens when you put too much emphasis into one asset class. Memes are volatile, right? But if you release one over a 2 week month period, you can't release five in the same week and then all know on the back end that the AVAX Foundation is involved with it. It just doesn't work. And so, like, for all the love that I give them, right, the credit card accessibility, the gaming aspect, like the team being on top of business, that portion, it left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth because I know what they were trying to accomplish to onboard the volume of meme coins and to do that, but to do it in such a rapid pace, it really turned me off, I'll be honest.
Interesting. I thought you were going to. I was unaware about that. I thought you were going to be rubbed the wrong way from the Avalanche Foundation putting money directly into a handful of the largest meme coins. Basically, the biggest one being Kakina.
You gotta try, man. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta try something. And I think they did a review of that. And I think 99% of that liquidity is out of the market now, right? Just based off of that. But like, you can't fault people for trying stuff, right? The foundation is always trying to work forward, but then at the same time, you dilute your market to such an aggressive sense, you're just doing your team and you're doing your community a disservice, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's that I agree with you. That part was unfortunate. The I feel like it was born out of frustration with the pivot to gaming, and there was like an attempt to try to figure out what they were going to do to be relevant. Like, well, if this is what people want, then this is what we're going to give them, and it just ended up being kind of a miss because it felt more forced than this like thing that came up that nobody asked for, like the Solana Casino, and especially because if you look at the people that make up the Web3 gaming niche, I defy anybody to find a different niche in crypto that has 1/10 of the overall conviction that that group of people has.
Dude, Red Dorito Chain MFers just love Red Dorito Chain.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's very different, and I mean
I am underexposed to that group.
you
I
yeah.
There's a lot of cross pollination between Polygon and AVAX people, just based off the community basis and like how they kind of move. And there was a lot of AVAX homies jumping into our PFP craze of 2021, 2022. And it's just one of those things where we saw it. And it was like a very interesting because they were exploding and the ecosystems move similarly, just based off a cultural narrative. But like the AVAX community is built different. And so like while I give it an A plus in all those other areas, that meme coin place, just because of the dilution, it really hurts it overall because they were given like early access and easy like for instance, Will, if you put I think it was the ask for the pre-sale of Ket, I think it was maybe like five AVAX or like 10 AVAX or something of that nature. And if you pulled instantly, your 10 to, I think it was like 10, maybe it was like 10 to 20 AVAX instantly turned into right around like 25 to 50K, depending on when you pulled. It was insane. And the pre-sales were exclusively given to the sole KOLs. Like that's what it was. And like all the OG AVAX people got faded. And it really left a bad taste in some soul people's mouths.
Yeah, we I personally know a couple people who made multiple six figures off that pre-sale.
Yeah, it's crazy work.
All Solana people.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a weird one. And then Blub was just so odd. The amount of information and connectivity that they wanted from people to get into their pre-sale was really strange. It was like connecting multiple social media accounts and wallet connections and stuff. It was odd. It was a significantly heavy data request.
Should we talk about the graphic at the end of it, Alex? That you had to.
Yeah, and all we need to know is if you're number 3, then I'm very sorry.
Yeah. So So Will, to make it not too colorful, it was so Blub originates from a blubfish, right? Like this like weird like blubby character, and the blubfish were performing certain activities on each other, and you had to select which blobfish you would be in that said activity, and there were 5 options of sending and receiving, we'll call it, and you had to select which one you were in order to apply for the pre-sale.
Ah.
This is crazy, bro.
You know,
Like,
sometimes I wish this entire industry disappeared.
yeah, my life would be a little bit less confusing, that's for sure.
Will, just because you're my friend, I'm gonna send you the blob graph.
I was worried you were going to share it on screen because I saw you at work with a giddy little smile on your face, and I was like, this can only mean one thing. Alex is about to send me pictures of blobfishes having sex.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was what it was for sure. I don't even know where to go look for that, Alex. The fact that you know how to quickly find these things is impressive in its own sense.
I've got it bookmarked.
Oh, of course, for quick access.
No, I'm right now. Honestly, I'm just scrolling through Blub's Twitter account, and it's a cesspool, dude. This place is awful.
Yeah, it's wild work.
This is not safe for work.
WB.
Oh,
BLUB.
Anyway, but yeah, so AVAX is a tough one just because the chain construction is awesome. It's one of those things. It's super cool. Building is not hard. There is so much ecosystem support over there. Is one, like, if I pulled a silver lining out of all of that, the ability to get the foundation involved in something or whatever I know. No, I'm trying to
comment.
Oh,
Bad taste in Nill's mouth.
I was I thought you were laughing at my attempt to pull a silver lining out of the foundation early allocating meme funds, but on the grant side or on the ambassadorship side, there's quite a bit, and I've also seen quick response from them dropping people who don't represent the brand well. The whole Choose Rich boat incident with the banana and the duct tape and the cardboard, they dropped him real quick to the point where a jet ski came up to the boat to get rid of him in the middle of the party, which is hilarious.
That's
awesome. I don't know, man. I really wish that it was doing better, and I think that honestly, and I've written about this on Twitter. This is I had a really good conversation with Katie Bettner about this. Shout out. The fact that too many gaming projects launched and attempted to do it what I would call the right way in terms of putting something on chain and not trying to pump up some sort of flash in the pan token pump price movement thing meant that nobody paid attention to them because everyone was too busy either pumping shitters or pretending that they cared about utility and ignoring all the cool stuff at the same time. And because of that, a lot of really, really cool games went by the wayside. And then you just had some really unfortunate token things, like the whole guns debacle is really weird, which is the off the grid studio, and the way that they did their token I've seen a lot of, I've just been following all of it through Icy's gaming updates, but leaves a lot to be desired. And let's just say a lot of people are unhappy about it. So I don't know, man. I'm so bullish on gaming as a narrative. It's one of the few, even though it's tiny and it's been really, really rammed into the gutter. Like you said, Will, adoption in its target audience, that's not an easy thing to come by.
Yeah, it's still my most, excitable use case for Web3 still, because I love DeFi. I'm a slut for DeFi. I've said that for years. And
he has literally said that
I have said that for quite a long time. I am a slut for a good DeFi protocol, my guys and ladies. And
just wait for it.
But Web3 gaming, that's the thing that gets people who don't really pay attention to finance. They don't invest, maybe. Yeah. They're just playing video games, having a good time, hanging out with their friends. And I think that would be such a beautiful way to get people on chain who are already spending money on digital products and stuff in games, like big dollars too. So the opportunity there as an investor is cool. And then just from a nice standpoint, it'd be such a great way to bring people on chain and a positive social instance, right? I just think that it'd be such a beautiful thing.
I agree there. It's just gamers by nature are so intuitive. like they work their minds all day long when they play games, right? And just like just a very interesting avenue. Sorry, Will, I cut you off there.
Well, no, what I was going to say is I think it's time for final remarks because, as Evan would not say, it is time to ride our cats and cows into the sunrise. So, you know,
Cats and cows.
And
yeah,
my
cats
wife.
and cows. Because Evan always says dogs and ponies
Dogs
into
and
the
ponies.
sunset. So I say cats and cows into the sunrise when I have cows. So, you know, it's time for do some final thoughts and also thank everybody for all the suggestions for altcoins to chat about. So, Nill, would you have a final thought, word of wisdom, joke, bloodfish you want to share?
Yeah, I got no blubfishes or jokes, but God, thank God I don't. But moral of the story is I just want to like I always thank you all. And Alex texted me. He was like, "Yo, like late night coming on," and I appreciate everyone getting on Glassry. Thank you so much. Like everyone that came through tonight, like the main thought behind everything, right, is the differentiation when we review all these tokens, when we dive in deep to these ecosystems, like everybody's going to have this conviction level, right, of like how they believe in something. Everyone says that in the space, you gotta believe in something, right? Like that's a common phrase that gets said a lot, right? But believing in something is your own journey for a lot of people. And when you dive into these things, we have these conversations, we need to reflect on you can only be so convicted if it is really applicable to you, right? So like why am I bullish on gaming? It's because my life has been affected by gaming in a positive way, right? I connect with my people that I would never talk like I just my friends from college. I would never, we're not going to text each other and be like, "Hey, bud, how's it going?" Right? Like, everything good on your side? Like, it's just not how like males talk usually, right?
I'd,
But when
I'd
we,
reply back to you, be like, "What a loser!
you big nerd, don't text me ever again.
Do you have cancer? No, don't talk to me."
Yeah, don't worry about it. But in a gaming sense, right? I get on Sea of Thieves with the homies once a week, right? We
Oh
sail
god,
the
that's
yeah.
beautiful. I love that you guys still play Sea of Thieves. That's awesome.
Dude, it connect because in a way, like my college friends, we lived in a house called the Jolly Rager, right? And so we all believe in like pillaging and being pirates, and so gaming is such an interesting narrative, right? And so when you look at your real life, you need to build conviction in something that you truly see affecting your life in a positive way. I go to concerts, I go to events. I think the ticketing agency are something that takes advantage of our people a ton, right? So when you think about what really matters to you in your everyday life, that is how you build long-term conviction because it will allow you to stay steadfast in everything that happens in this space when things are getting volatile, when things are getting nasty. You can look back and say, has the use case and has the overall goals changed? And 90% of the time, when you have a specific use case in this space, when they've leaned into gaming like IMX and Ronin has and AVAX and all these teams, you can say at the end of the day, that hasn't changed. The goal is pure. That's why we reviewed Say in such a critical light because the narrative continues to flop. So building that conviction takes time, but really apply it to your real life and ensure that you feel like you can see this working out long term. Again, it's the most volatile industry ever. It's the most speculative asset we've ever seen in our entire lives. But what an exciting opportunity for our people to be involved in those ways. So again, just appreciate everything from tonight. Every single time I hop on lives with you all, I feel like I expand my mind. And I need that, honestly, because I get in my own ruts where I need to make sure I continue to do that overall. So thank you all again.
Yeah, of course, man. Always happy to have you here, dude, because you do the same for us.
That's what it is, man. It's the Web3 way.
Alex, go.
This was a fun one, Nil, to throw it back at you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to come up and sit up here. It's been a minute since we have cracked out the old whiteboard at all. We were talking about this morning just because we've been slammed with. It turns out After Dark is everyone's favorite guest spot. So whenever we bring anybody on the show, everybody wants an After Dark spot, and I don't blame them. It's awesome. I love this time slot. This show is awesome.
It's a vibe.
I love that I get to do it every week. So I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out. I would like to. I have a few more here. So just because we didn't get to everything, which happens when you give full context and real long and helpful answers, in my opinion.
I can already hear Evan coaching us, guys. Hey, that live with Nill was great, but like, you gotta time commit. You gotta constrain the time, guys. Like, oh yeah, Evan, no, you're right. Yeah, we gotta be better with the time management, of course. Yes, mom. Yes.
But you
Yes,
know what?
director.
At
No,
least
director.
this time,
Director
all
mom.
of our cameras worked,
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
didn't
that
have
was
to
great.
restart the stream. So
Yeah, this morning was awful.
this morning was awful. That recording is dead forever. It's never coming back.
Never coming back.
So I'll put these. I will put a little quick write up for all of these into the Discord. If you are interested in seeing the rest of a bunch of the ones that you guys tossed into the chat, then just hop in there and let me know if we missed you. We'll get you an answer and some thoughts. But honestly, just appreciate you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.
Lovely. For me, I don't really have anything else to add. The only thing I'm going to say is, just from like an investing standpoint, guys, things are really, really unstable with the global financial market because everything's changing regarding trade relationships. And another thing too is, I think Jerome Powell summed it up perfectly, which is, we don't know what the current trade policy is from the president or from this administration because it's kind of been changing back and forth, which we've all known and experienced, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And in order to analyze where the market's going, we need to know what those policies are. So we're in a situation right now where the market is very dependent on policy, both for stocks and for crypto. So be careful with your money. Don't overinvest more money than you can lose. I love the space here for long-term stuff with Bitcoin. That's the only thing I really invest in for the long term. Everything else is speculative or just things that I love and care about and want to use and enjoy. So find those things as well in the space because it will open up a whole new door for you that if this bear run gets worse or whatever and emotions are in the dumps, make sure you're learning about the stuff you care about and find some things in the space that, as Nill said, really truly could change your life or at least give you improvements in certain ways because odds are there's something out there for you. So with that, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be live again in the morning tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Rise Up Morning Show. We still will not have Evan, sadly, so hopefully Alex and I can get our cameras to work and not royally mess up this one. So this recording will be live on YouTube. If you're watching it, you already know that. See you guys later. Have a good one.